The clang of metal was so loud it scared the crows right off the power lines. Now, you'd think after 20 years out here, I'd be used to surprises, but nothing could have prepared me for the sight of my tractor nose-to-nose with a shiny, brand-new aluminum fence that wasn't there the day before, blocking my path like some kind of medieval barricade. And standing behind that absurd wall, looking pleased as a fox in a henhouse, was Karen, the HOA president, in her pink sun hat and those ridiculous designer sunglasses, grinning like she'd just discovered gravity. I killed the engine, dust swirling around me. And let me tell you, it took everything I had not to explode right there. She strutted over, waving that clipboard around like it was a sheriff's badge, and before I could even open my mouth, she tells me I'm trespassing. "This path is now HOA property, Jake," she said, like she was reading from the book of Revelations. My jaw nearly cracked in two. This path, my path, was older than the HOA, older than her perfect fences, older than the very pavement in this neighborhood. It was where I moved hay, hauled lumber, helped out old Mr. Lewis down the road when his truck gave up the ghost, and now, thanks to this overnight aluminum atrocity, it was off limits, topped with plastic spikes and a sign that said, "Private access. Violators will be fined." Karen stood there like a queen defending her empire, but the only problem was her empire was sitting 10 feet into my land. So I told her, calm as I could manage, that her fence was well past the property line. She laughed, said the HOA had revised the boundaries last month. Revised, like they were editing a term paper. I reached for the old county map I keep laminated in my glove box. The one my dad marked up by hand in '72, but she waved it away like I was showing her a grocery list. "You can appeal at the next HOA meeting," she said, syrupy sweet. "Until then, keep your tractor on your side." Then she slapped a citation on my hood for operating heavy machinery in a residential zone. Can you believe that? Fined for being a farmer on my own farmland. That's when it hit me. This wasn't about rules. This was about power. She'd always hated that her neat little subdivision bordered my place. The sound of my tractor, the rooster crowing, the diesel, the messy reality of a real farm offended her soul. She wanted silence, sameness, and lawns you could measure with a ruler. My land was the wrinkle in her tablecloth, and she was going to iron it flat, no matter what. I drove back to the barn, knuckles white on the wheel, staring at that aluminum fence glinting in the sun. That path wasn't just convenient, it was my lifeline. Without it, I'd be forced to take a 3-mile detour over rocky hills that could flip my tractor. Wasn't safe, wasn't sustainable. And Karen didn't care. She wanted me boxed in, literally. That night, I took a flashlight and walked the fence line, found the posts still soft in fresh concrete. I kicked one, muttered to myself, "She thinks she's won." That's when it came to me. Not a light bulb, but a thunderclap. If I couldn't go over and couldn't go around, there was only one way left, down. My old man always said, "Don't fight fools head on, son. Outsmart 'em sideways." He never said anything about underground, but close enough. Next morning, I wore my best defeated man face and drove into town. Karen actually waved from her porch, thought my silence meant surrender. At the county office, Dale, the clerk who'd been there since Christ was a corporal, dug out surveys from 1953. "This path's been here since your granddad's time," he said. "Turns out, if it ever served as a drainage line, I could claim agricultural irrigation rights. No HOA approval needed, just paperwork." That night, I sketched out my plan on a piece of plywood in the barn. Vent, reinforced pipe, entry angle. It looked half conspiracy chart, half engineering blueprint, but the math worked. I'd tunnel from the old storm drain by my shed, angle under Karen's fence, and come up 50 feet beyond, still on my land. I ordered supplies under the guise of irrigation maintenance, steel pipe, welding gear, tunnel lights. The hardware guy asked questions but just grinned when I said, "Testing a new water line." Everyone around here knew Karen's crusade against us country folks. "Give her hell, Jake," they said. At sunset, I stood by her fence, watched her water her plastic flowers, not noticing half her sprinkler line was leaking. Straight back toward the base. That obsession with appearances blinded her to what was happening under her nose, or, in this case, her feet. That night, I rigged my old auger, welded an extended bit, set up a generator, and started drilling. Rusty barked at every spark, like he was rooting for me. I worked until midnight, my own little forge humming in the barn. By next day, I had my first section. Ready, tested it in soft dirt behind the barn, and felt my old man's laugh echoing in my head. He always said a bad situation just needed a clever hand. The real dig started at dawn. Gloves on, level and laser line out, Rusty thumping his tail in the dirt. The first hours went smooth. Pipes slid in, generator hummed, the earth swallowing up my stubbornness. I built a highway under the enemy's lawn, one shovel at a time. Around noon, I paused for water, leaned back, and heard the faintest bleat. Turned to see two of my neighbor's goats, peering down into the trench, looking for all the world like kids at a carnival. Before I could shout, one fell in, then the other. By the time I'd hauled both out with a rope, my back was shot. If you tell anyone, I'll deny everything, I said. They just chewed grass like nothing happened. That evening, Karen was out in her yard with binoculars, yelling about suspicious activity and some HOA violation. I pretended not to hear, waved, and went back to digging. Around midnight, headlights crept down my dirt road, Sheriff Buck in his cruiser. She filed a noise complaint, he said, smirking. You running a nightclub in there? Just fixing irrigation, I told him. Carry on, he said, and rolled away. I got the permit filed with Dale, who stamped it and whispered, Karen sniffing around about drainage laws. Let her sniff, I grinned. She wouldn't find a thing. Each night, I dug deeper, reinforcing the walls with steel, stringing lights, setting up fans for air. The farther I tunneled, the quieter everything felt. Just the heartbeat of the earth, the scrape of my shovel, the low laugh of a man winning a secret war. Sometimes, when the surface world felt far away, I'd remember why I was doing this, not for revenge, but for principle. She turned property lines into a weapon. I turned physics into payback. Karen escalated, planted fake sensor flags along the fence, labeled HOA sensor zone. I nearly snorted, so I retaliated by setting up an old tractor mirror to reflect sun straight into her living room. She came storming out, sunglasses on, screaming about harassment, just solar testing. I told her, HOA's big on sustainability, right? Back in the tunnel, I reinforced each section, checked airflow, double-checked every angle. By week's end, I was 30 feet under her prized garden, just beneath her hydrangeas, could smell fertilizer through the soil. Every inch was a victory. I brushed off the dirt, whispered, almost there, Karen. Keep watering, helps with lubrication. Her retaliation got desperate. 3 White County trucks showed up, inspectors everywhere, and at the front, Karen directing like a general. He's building something illegal, she shouted. The inspector checked my permits, ran a detector, shrugged. Just pipes, all approved. Karen's jaw nearly hit the ground. You should be careful with false reports. I told her, that can carry fines. Inspectors left, Karen fuming, her empire cracking. 2 days later, I woke to more drama. Karen hired ground-penetrating radar contractors. They scanned near the fence, hit one of her own sprinkler lines, and burst a geyser in her yard. Flooded her basement. Contractors scrambled, Karen screamed. HOA trucks showed up, chaos in broad daylight. I sipped coffee on my porch, watching like a man at the world's greatest show. That evening, Karen confronted me with a blurry skin photo. That's your tunnel, she shrieked. I shrugged, could be a root system, or a gopher. She slipped in the mud, almost fell, and I bit my tongue not to laugh. Karma works fast sometimes. Final stretch. I checked every support beam, sealed joints, installed cameras for proof. That night, Karen snuck out with a shovel, digging wild, hit my drainage pipe. Water gushed, soaked her again. I laughed so hard I nearly passed out. Next morning, I sent the sheriff footage of her trespassing. Buck visited her with a warning. Stop digging holes you can't fill. The air was lighter after that. My tunnel was finished, solid, invisible, legal. I parked the tractor, looked at Rusty, and said, we just made history, buddy. He barked in agreement. The county hearing was pure theater. Karen with her folders and drama, me with my permits and camera footage. The officer reviewed it all, smiled, ruled in my favor. Case dismissed, tunnel legal, HOA prohibited from interfering. Karen went pale, muttered about humiliation. You did that too. Yourself? I told her, quiet as sunrise. Weeks passed, the land healed, grass grew over scars, and neighbors dropped by with jokes, pie, even requests to tour the tunnel. The story turned legend. Kids whispered about the farmer's highway. The local paper called it engineering genius. Karen resigned as HOA president. Her yard faded, her house quiet as a church. One day I walked the tunnel, placed a plaque midway. Work hard, dig deep, stay kind. It felt right. Victory not as revenge, but as resilience. We had a barbecue over the tunnel's far end. Neighbors laughed, told wild tales, called it the HOA underpass. I let them. The point wasn't gloating, it was freedom. The tunnel was more than a shortcut. It was a monument to persistence, to quiet stubbornness, to digging deeper instead of fighting louder. So here's what I learned. When someone blocks your path, don't waste your life screaming at fences. Dig smarter, build quieter, and when the dust settles, let them realize that while they were guarding the surface, you were building the world beneath it. What do you think, folks? When push comes to shove, would you fight on the surface or carve your own way underground? Drop your thoughts below. Let's hear where you stand on justice, stubbornness, and how you handle a bully with too much power. And if you've ever had your own run-in with an HOA tyrant, I want to hear about it. Hit that subscribe for more stories from the trenches, because sometimes the best path to freedom is the one nobody else can see.